Hey guys, it's Colin Coates from Built2Wander. Today we're out on the trails in Colorado. We've got the Blaze JT, our recent Gladiator build, and Triton JL. We're gonna do a little off-roading and kind of show you guys some different scenarios where you may need to perform a vehicle recovery, and also take you through some minimum recovery gear that would be beneficial to have in your vehicle. Things like tow straps, some different winching accessories, some D-rings, soft shackles. So we're gonna show you some of that gear, show you how it's used, how to be safe, and some best practices while you're performing a recovery, and also just get out and have some fun. Enjoy this beautiful Colorado weather. We're gonna air down first, hit the trails, and then we'll walk you through some of these different scenarios. So we've aired down. We just pulled up to Hackett Gulch. That's the entrance sign behind me. And what's interesting is this tree, as you enter the trail, says, "Before you go, you are your own rescuer," which is kind of ironic because today we're going to talk about recovery and how to perform recovery and some of the equipment that you should have with you to perform that recovery. So I just thought that was an interesting sign worth mentioning. Got Matt Thompson with me from 3D Off-Road. We're gonna show you guys the equipment that we keep on hand for recovery in our vehicle at all times. It's really just a list of essentials that you could use to perform a recovery for yourself or for somebody else that you may run into on the trails. So we chose Factor 55 recovery gear. The nice thing about this stuff is that it's made right here in the USA. It shows all of the working load limits and minimum braking strengths on the different pieces of equipment on the soft tow straps. And we chose the Sawtooth recovery kit that they offer, which is kind of the middle of the line package. The bag that it comes in is a nice heavy duty waxed canvas bag. It's actually handmade here in Colorado, which is kind of cool. Allows us to say that we're supporting a local business. But beyond that, the nice thing is you can really piece these kits together as you see fit. If you already have a few pieces of recovery gear and just need a few things, you can pick up the bag, a couple different pieces from Factor 55, and put that all together. The other important part about this gear being made in the USA is that it's important to have recovery gear that you can rely on. If you're on the trail and you're helping somebody perform a recovery, you need to trust in the reliability of your gear so that you can be the hero. Be the one to help turn that day around for somebody on the trail who's stuck or who might have broken down. So being able to rely on your gear, trusting in your gear, knowing that it's high quality, those are all huge things for us and why we chose to run Factor 55 gear. Having said that, because this gear is made in the USA, it comes at a steeper price tag, but it's a wise investment. And I like to think of the term buy once, cry once. Spend the money up front. You've got reliable gear. You know you won't need to replace it for a very long time. And also it's kind of important to keep it into perspective. If you're out on the trail and you don't have recovery gear, or you have cheap gear and it fails on you and you need to rely on a tow truck service, especially if you're out in the backcountry where you're hard to reach, the cost of that recovery could be astronomical. So to spend, you know, what might feel like a lot of money at the time in the front end will actually save you money in the long run. Now that we've taken you through some of the gear that's included in our Factor 55 Sawtooth recovery kit, we're gonna actually hit the trail and show you guys a couple different scenarios where we can use that gear, walk you through some best practices and techniques to effectively perform those recoveries and use the gear that's within your recovery kit in your off-road vehicle. In this initial recovery scenario, we're gonna show the Gladiator pulling the JL out using a tow strap. So say we've broken a U-joint and we can't get down the trail. We're gonna use a 30-foot standard tow strap from Factor 55 and actually tow that vehicle through the trail back to the trailer or back to camp where we can get under it and work on. The nice thing about the tow strap is it doesn't stretch, so it's great for actually towing that vehicle. There is a kinetic rope from Factor 55 that actually has some stretch to it, and that would be better in a scenario where you've got a vehicle stuck, say, in a big mud pit or in deep snow and you need a nice solid tug to pull it free. You would use that kinetic rope because as the recovering vehicle pulls, it generates that momentum, and so when that rope snaps back, it uses that momentum to pull that stuck vehicle free. So that's just the differences between the two ropes. So one thing to keep in mind is as a best practice, if you're doing some towing or using a snatch rope or a kinetic rope, never put the rope over the ball of a hitch. It's happened before. It's kind of a worst case scenario where that ball is sheared off of the hitch, comes flying back and go through a windshield or hit a bystander and seriously injure somebody. So obviously you don't want that to happen. Instead, use a dedicated recovery point such as a D-ring mount or a hitch link from Factor 55, which is designed for that recovery scenario. So to get started, we're gonna put the tow strap on a hitch link on the Gladiator's rear bumper using a D-ring. From there, we're gonna then attach the opposite end to a D-ring mount on the front bumper of the JL. Once we've got some tension established in the tow strap, we'll go ahead and start pulling the JL free with the Gladiator. Now, you can do this for as long as you need to. In our case, we're just kind of simulating this scenario, but say you need to get a few miles down the trail till you get to a point where you can work on the vehicle, or maybe you get back to camp or the trailer, that's fine too. Using a tow strap or a kinetic rope is a great option if you have another vehicle with you. However, if you're by yourself or you're in a tougher spot, you can then rely on a winch. It's a great tool to have. We rely on Warn winches on our builds, and on the Gladiator, we've got it equipped with a Warn Xeon 10S winch with synthetic line. And we also use a Factor 55 Haas Fairlead and their Ultra Hook. We're gonna show actually winching out of an obstacle. We've got a winch line connected to a tree saver up the hill using a Factor 55 Ultra Hook and a D-ring to attach the winch line to the tree saver. One thing that you don't necessarily want to do is put your winch line around the tree, because it can actually cut into the bark and kill the tree, and then that tree's no longer there for the next person who needs it for recovery. So using a tree saver, the strap goes around the base of the tree where it's the strongest point, and it prevents that damage to the tree. And we've got a D-ring going through the tree saver into the Ultra Hook, and which is also connected to the winch line. From there, we're just going to spool in the winch and see the Gladiator kind of come up the hill a little bit. Once you've winched yourself through that spot or over that obstacle, it's now time to feed the winch line back into the winch. It's probably best practice to wear gloves so you don't get any splinters, because you're going to need to hold the winch line with one hand while you are controlling the remote with the other. So simply pull that winch line in and keep a little tension on it and kind of work it from side to side so that it coils up evenly. So we've shown winching going up a hill using a tree saver around a tree. Fortunately, we're able to do that because of the wooded area that we're in. But sometimes you're on a trail, you might not have trees to your expense, and there may be actual dedicated winch points that are anchored into the trail. I know places like the Rubicon Trail in Moab have some of those spots. On this trail here in Colorado, there is actually a dedicated winch point. So we're gonna show rigging the winch up to that dedicated winch point. And basically what we're gonna do is pull the winch line out of the winch up the hill to the dedicated winch point. We're gonna use our soft shackle from Factor 55 around that anchor in the granite rock, connect that to our winch, and then go ahead and take out the slack and then start winching up and over this obstacle. So now that the JL has cleared that obstacle and is no longer stuck, we can go ahead and release tension on the winch line, remove the soft shackle from the anchor point, and go ahead and start to spool that winch line back into the winch. So in our last recovery scenario, we're gonna show a little vehicle to vehicle winching. We've got the Gladiator down the hill on a incline on some granite rock and it's struggling to get up. So we've scanned the area. There's no real trees we can reach to, and there's no dedicated winch points in that granite rock. So we're gonna go ahead and resort to vehicle recovery. And what we're gonna do is pull some winch line from Matt's Gladiator, and we're gonna pull it up the hill and attach it to the hitch link on our receiver and using a D-ring. So as Matt actually attaches that D-ring to the hitch link and then the ultra hook to the D-ring, he's making sure that that ultra hook is facing up so that if something does fail, if a winch line breaks, that hook is just gonna drop to the ground. It's not gonna fling backwards. And it's also important to note that you never wanna use an open hook. This Factory 55 Ultra hook actually has a little tab that makes it a closed system. And it's important to note that the JL, which is the recovering vehicle in this instance, is parked on a flat, even surface. We've even turned the wheels to lock, and we're gonna add a rock under the rear tire to prevent it from rocking back as Matt uses his winch to pull himself up the hill. So I have my buddy Zach with us today. He's in the JL. He's got it in park with the e-brake on, foot on the brake, so it'll prevent the JL from rocking back as Matt puts tension on the winch line and starts to pull himself up. So now that Matt's made it up the hill, we can go ahead and release the pressure on the winch line and remove the ultra hook from the hitch link on the JL and go ahead and spool that winch back up. There are many different types of wheeling, from hitting fire roads to rock crawling to bashing through mud and snow. Chances are if you spend enough time wheeling, no matter the style, you're bound to need to perform a recovery at some point. It can either ruin your day or simply not be a big deal, provided that you are prepared for it. There's a 90-10 rule in recovery that says 90% of the time you're likely performing a recovery for somebody else on the trail and not yourself. So as long as you have some basic technique and the proper tools with you, you'll be able to effectively and safely perform that recovery and move on with the trail and with the day. So I would definitely urge people to just be prepared, find equipment that works for you, and also get out and practice with it. When you pick up your recovery kit and you've got a wheeling trip coming up in a few weeks, go out and practice. Find a tree in the backyard or get another vehicle involved and practice rigging up a tow strap from one vehicle to another or using a tree saver. That way when you are on the trail and you're prepared, you've practiced, you're able to go out and safely and effectively perform a recovery. The other thing that I would like to encourage everybody is not only get out and practice with your equipment, but get involved in some local recovery groups. There's a couple different groups on Facebook here locally in Colorado. There's some different materials that you can buy or even get for free online that will have a lot of good, useful information. Factor 55 has a basic guide to winching that they include with their recovery kits. You can even go on their website and pick one up. It's something that's helpful to have as a resource and something that will just help you guys get more comfortable with this. And I can tell you just today, getting out and performing a couple different recovery scenarios, that I feel more comfortable performing a recovery on my own, or if I was out with a group of people, being able to step in and help out and use some of this new equipment that we picked up. Thanks for watching today's video with us, guys. I hope you found today's techniques to be useful, especially for the next time that you hit the trail, as well as some important off-road recovery gear to have on hand in the event that you have to help out or perform a self-recovery. As always, if you have any questions or comments, I'd love to hear your feedback. Please drop us a note below, hit the like button if you did, and subscribe if you haven't. Wander on.